The galaxy had forgotten fear. For over 10,000 years, the dominion of stars ruled everything that mattered. Thousands of species, millions of worlds, endless fleets. No rival had ever survived long enough to be remembered. Every war ended the same way: quick, clean, absolute. Fear was an old concept, a weakness of the past. The Dominion believed this with certainty. So when the anomaly appeared at the edge of known space, no one panicked. It was a small thing. Faint radio noise. Old-style transmissions leaking from a yellow star system barely worth a footnote. No advanced energy readings. No megastructures. No sign of power. Just a species name pulled from ancient, dusty records. Humans. The archives labeled them clearly: fragmented, emotion-driven, self-destructive, non-threat. The council laughed. Humans had once reached space, yes, but then they stopped. No empire. No conquest. No great war. They vanished from relevance centuries ago. Forgotten by history. Just another species that failed to rise. The Dominion voted in under a minute. A single envoy ship would be sent. Not a fleet. Not a warning. Just a formality. The envoy was massive compared to anything humans could build. Armored, armed, unstoppable. Its mission was simple: enter the system, broadcast surrender terms, and mark the world for future integration. The ship crossed into human space without resistance. No defense platforms. No patrol fleets. No warning shots. Only silence. The envoy transmitted its authority across all frequencies, using every known language. The message was standard, ancient, and final. There was no reply. Hours passed. Then days. The Dominion expected compliance. They always did. Instead, the envoy ship vanished from all long-range sensors. No explosion. No debris cloud. No energy spike. It was just gone. At first, the Dominion assumed a technical failure. A jump malfunction. A navigational error. But protocol demanded confirmation. So a scout vessel was dispatched to the envoy's last known location. What it found changed everything. The envoy ship was drifting in open space. Intact. Silent. Its hull was not breached by weapons. There were no scorch marks. No signs of battle. The ship looked almost peaceful from a distance. But when the scouts boarded, the truth became impossible to ignore. The interior had been taken apart. Not destroyed. Not looted. Disassembled. Walls removed cleanly. Systems unplugged with care. Power cores missing, extracted without triggering failsafes. Even the crew, every single one, was gone. No bodies. No blood. No struggle. Only precision. The scout commander reported something worse. Every internal clock on the ship was wrong. Some said the crew vanished minutes ago. Others said weeks. One section claimed the ship had been empty before it arrived. Time itself had been tampered with. The report reached the Dominion Council within hours. For the first time in 10,000 years, the chamber was quiet. No one spoke of fear. They spoke of logic. Who would go to such effort? Why leave the ship intact? Why allow it to be found? Then a final detail arrived. Carved into the command deck wall, etched so finely it could only be seen under direct light, were symbols translated automatically by Dominion systems. 3 short lines. Perfectly written. You crossed a line. This was a warning. Do not return. The council rejected the message immediately. Warnings were tools of the weak. The Dominion did not believe in warnings. They believed in force. Orders were issued to assemble a response fleet, larger, armed, decisive. As the meeting ended, no one noticed the quiet error spreading through the Dominion network. Every deep space sensor aimed at human territory began to report the same thing. Not movement, not weapons, but attention. Something had noticed them back, and it was no longer watching quietly. The Dominion of Stars did not sleep. Across thousands of worlds, shipyards burned with activity. Docks that had not launched war fleets in centuries came alive again. Ancient battle protocols were dusted off, reviewed, and rewritten for a threat no one fully understood. Officially, the Council declared the human incident an irregular anomaly. Unofficially, every admiral knew the truth. A warning had been issued, and warnings were not given lightly. Before the response fleet could launch, the Council ordered something unprecedented. They ordered the archives opened. Not public records. Not military history. The deep archives, data sealed since the first age of expansion. Records from before the Dominion became unquestioned rulers of the galaxy. The reason was simple. Humans should not have been capable of what they did. Archivists worked in silence as star-sized memory vaults unlocked. Forgotten files reappeared. Old surveillance logs, long-dead diplomatic notes, fragmented recordings from early exploration eras. At first, nothing stood out. Humans appeared exactly as remembered, chaotic, divided, constantly fighting themselves. Thousands of internal wars. No unified government. No grand strategy. A species burning itself alive. Then patterns began to form. Exploration maps showed something strange. Human expansion had once been aggressive, fast, bold, reckless. They had colonized dozens of systems in a short time. Then they stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. Entire colonies were abandoned. Ship traffic vanished. Long-range telescopes recorded humans dismantling orbital stations they had just finished building. Why would a growing species retreat voluntarily? The answer came from a forgotten surveillance file, flagged but never analyzed. A human transmission, intercepted centuries ago, never translated fully at the time. The archivists played it. The message was calm, almost tired. We have reached a conclusion. If we continue outward, we will become what we fear. We will not turn the galaxy into another battlefield. We will not be another empire that learns too late. The recording ended there. The room felt colder. Humans had not failed. They had chosen to stop. The council dismissed the discovery as philosophy, not strategy. But unease spread through the chamber. A species that could restrain itself was rare. A species that could do it collectively was almost unheard of. Still, restraint did not explain the envoy ship. The response fleet launched before the debate could grow louder. 300 warships. Enough to erase most civilizations. Their orders were clear. Enter human space. Locate human infrastructure. And force submission. As the fleet approached the boundary of the human system, sensors reported nothing unusual. No mines. No patrols. No energy buildup. It looked empty. The lead admiral allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The warning had been a bluff. A trick meant to delay the inevitable. The fleet crossed the boundary. Immediately, things began to break. Communications lagged by seconds, then minutes. Navigation markers drifted from their assigned positions. Star charts no longer aligned with visible space. Then the first ship vanished. No alert. No explosion. One moment it was there. The next, empty space. The fleet halted. Emergency scans revealed something impossible. The missing ship still existed. Its signal was detected ahead of the fleet. And behind it. And inside it. The data conflicted with itself. The admiral ordered a retreat. The fleet turned back toward Dominion space. They did not move. Engines fired at full power. The stars did not shift. Space itself had locked them in place. Then the message arrived. Not broadcast. Not transmitted. It appeared directly inside every system display, translated instantly into every language. Do not advance. The tone was neutral. Not threatening. Not angry. Informational. The admiral demanded a response channel. There was none. He ordered weapons charged. The fleet prepared to fire. Before the command could be given, half the fleet vanished. Not destroyed. Removed. Their mass readings dropped to zero, as if they had never existed. The remaining ships regained movement. A clear corridor through space opened in front of them, leading directly back the way they came. The message appeared again. Leave. The admiral did not hesitate. The fleet fled. They did not regroup. They did not scan. They ran. When they crossed back into Dominion-controlled space, every system returned to normal instantly. Communications stabilized. Navigation corrected itself. It was as if human space had rejected them. The council received the report in stunned silence. No shots fired. No casualties recorded. No battle, no victory. Just control. Worse, the humans had allowed them to escape. That decision haunted the chamber. Because mercy meant intent. And intent meant confidence. While the council argued, something else happened. Dominion listening posts across the spiral arm began receiving delayed signals. Messages that should have arrived weeks ago. Distress calls. From ships that were still intact. Messages from captains begging for orders, warning of anomalies, describing encounters that had not yet occurred. Timestamps contradicted reality. The Dominion's predictive models collapsed. For the first time, the future was unreadable. Then came the final blow. A single data packet appeared in the deepest council network, bypassing all security, all firewalls, all safeguards. It contained one file, a star map, human space highlighted in soft light. Around it, dozens of former empires were marked. Every one of them is labeled the same way. Neutralized. No dates. No details. Just confirmation. At the bottom of the file, a single line of text waited. We stayed quiet because the galaxy needed peace. The council finally understood. Humans had not been hiding. They had been working. Every empire that vanished mysteriously. Every civilization that collapsed without explanation. Every war that ended before it could consume the stars. Humanity has been there. Not as rulers. Not as conquerors. As something far more dangerous. Caretakers with the power to decide who survived history. The Dominion ordered full mobilization. Total war. If humans controlled the rules of reality itself, then they would be forced to reveal their limits. As fleets gathered, one final message echoed across Dominion space. This time on open channels, heard by civilians, soldiers, and leaders alike. You were warned once. Next time, we will not remove ships. We will remove certainty. Across the galaxy, a concept long thought extinct returned to consciousness. Not confusion. No doubt. Fear. The Dominion of Stars prepared for war. Not a limited strike. Not a show of force. A war meant to end a species. Across the galaxy, ancient shipyards opened for the first time in millennia. Worlds that had not produced weapons in generations were converted overnight. Entire economies shifted from peace to survival. The Dominion did not announce the war publicly. They did not want to panic. They wanted control. Official statements described humanity as a dangerous anomaly, an unstable species wielding unknown technology. Citizens were told the war would be quick, necessary, defensive. Behind closed doors, the truth was darker. Every simulation failed. Predictive models collapsed the moment human variables were introduced. Time-based forecasting contradicted itself. Probability engines returned blank outputs. The Dominion had ruled because it could see the future better than anyone else. Now, the future refused to appear. The High Admiralty made its decision anyway. If humans controlled space, time, and physics, then the only option was overwhelming force. The invasion fleet would be too large to ignore, too massive to remove quietly. If humans wished to hide, the Dominion would force them into the light. The Armada launched in waves. Thousands of warships moved as one, blotting out stars as they entered human territory. Planet killers, reality anchors, weapons designed to tear open dimensions and burn suns. And still, human space looked empty. No fleets gathered. No defenses activated. No transmissions responded. The invasion passed system after system of nothing. Empty orbits, cold stars, abandoned planets stripped down to bare rock. Some worlds showed signs of life. Old cities, broken towers, rusting satellites. But no people, no bodies, just absence. The admirals assumed retreat. Evacuation. They were wrong. Scouts sent down to abandoned human worlds reported something unsettling. Structures were not destroyed by war or disaster. They had been taken apart. Buildings dismantled cleanly. Power grids removed piece by piece. Even underground systems extracted with care. Humans had not fled in panic. They had packed up, as if they had known the invasion was coming. The deeper the fleet traveled, the worse things became. Navigation errors multiplied. Some ships reported that stars were in the wrong positions. Others claimed entire constellations were missing. Time desynchronization spread. Messages sent from the rear arrived before they were transmitted. Orders contradicted themselves. Logs rewrote their own entries. Then the first weapon fired. A forward battle group detected a faint energy spike. Finally, a target. The admiral gave the order. Planet-cracking beams tore through space, aimed at a dead human world. The strike should have split the planet in half. Instead, the beam bent. Not deflected, redirected. It curved smoothly away, arcing back through space, and struck the firing ship. The ship ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just a clean absence where it had been. Panic rippled through the fleet. Weapons were powered down. Orders were shouted, then canceled. Admirals demanded explanations. That was when the message arrived. It did not come from a ship. It did not come from a planet. It appeared everywhere at once. We see you. The voice was calm. Humans. Clear. You have crossed the boundary we asked you not to cross. The fleet attempted to lock onto the signal. There was nothing to lock onto. You believe this is a war, the voice continued. It is not. Reality shifted. Space ahead of the armada folded inward like fabric. Distances shrank. Stars stretched into lines. Ships found themselves suddenly kilometers apart when they had been thousands before. Formations broke. Then the fleet began to fragment. Entire groups of ships vanished, reappearing light years away, deep inside empty systems. Others found themselves frozen in place, engines firing uselessly. A third of the armada lost all internal gravity at once. Crews were crushed or flung into walls as physics failed them. The Dominion tried to respond with forbidden weapons. Dimensional lances fired, devices designed to tear open reality itself. Nothing happened. The weapons activated. The universe ignored them. The human voice returned. We removed the need for violence long ago. One by one, Dominion ships shut down. Not destroyed. Disabled. Power cores went inert. Weapons systems fell silent. Shields collapsed without damage. Every ship that resisted lost function. Every ship that powered down was left untouched. The pattern became clear. Compliance meant survival. Resistance meant removal. The admirals ordered a full retreat. They did not get the chance. Human space closed around them. Not physically, conceptually. Every possible path out collapsed into the same result, stillness. The fleet was trapped. Then, finally, the humans appeared. Not in force, not in numbers. A single human vessel emerged at the center of the immobilized armada. It was small, simple, silent. No visible weapons. No armor plating. It transmitted a visual feed to every Dominion ship. The image showed a human figure standing alone in a dim chamber. No helmet. No uniform. Just eyes. Old, tired, and focused. You came to erase us, the human said. We will not erase you. The admirals demanded terms. The humans shook their heads slowly. This is not negotiation. The screen changed. The feed now showed a star system, Dominion-controlled. Peaceful. Populated. Then it rewound. Years. Decades. Centuries. The system's history played backward until a moment appeared. An ancient war, long forgotten. A civilization the Dominion had crushed to secure order. The image paused. You ended them, the humans said. We stopped you from doing it again. The feed switched rapidly between systems. Every one showed the same pattern. A rising empire. A coming war. A moment of intervention. Human intervention. We did not conquer. The human continued. We prevented it. The admirals realized the truth too late. The war they had launched had already been fought, and it has already been decided. The human looked directly into the camera. You were never afraid, they said, because you believed nothing could stop you. The image faded. The invasion fleet regained movement. A path opened, straight back the way they had come. No pursuit. No final strike. Just an exit. As the fleet fled, Dominion systems began receiving alerts from across their territory. Uprisings. Collapsing alliances. Revolutions ignited overnight. Human data packets flooded public networks. Records of suppressed histories, erased species, hidden atrocities. The Dominion's greatest weapon had always been control of information. Humans removed it in a single moment. By the time the invasion survivors returned home, the Dominion was already unraveling. And across human space, something else happened. Long-dormant shipyards powered up. Hidden fleets began to move. Humanity was no longer watching quietly. The war that never started. It was about to become impossible to stop. The galaxy watched. For the first time in living memory, every major civilization turned its sensors toward the same region of space. Trade routes slowed. Border wars paused. Even pirates went silent. The Dominion of Stars was unraveling, and everyone knew why. Humanity had moved. Not loudly, not violently, but undeniably. After the failed invasion, Dominion space fractured under the weight of truth. Long-suppressed records spread across public networks. Lost species were remembered. Forgotten genocides resurfaced. Entire worlds realized their peace had been built on buried bones. The Dominion tried to hold control. They failed. But collapse did not mean surrender. The remaining High Admirals gathered what strength they had left. Loyal fleets. Hardened commanders. Weapons that had never been used because even the Dominion feared them. If humans would not be erased quietly, they would be forced into open war. The order was given. A final stand. The fleets moved, not toward human worlds, but toward something older. A structure hidden in deep interstellar space, beyond any star system. An ancient station, older than the Dominion itself, built by a long-dead precursor race. The station was simple in purpose. It stabilized reality. If activated fully, it could lock space-time into rigid rules again. No distortions. No probability manipulation. No bending physics. A universe where human advantages would vanish. The Dominion believed this was the key. As engineers raced to awaken the station, something unexpected happened. Humanity responded. For the first time, human fleets appeared openly. They did not emerge everywhere. They emerged once. At the station, thousands of alien ships surrounded the structure, forming layered defenses. Weapons were armed. Reality anchors activated. Then space rippled. Human vessels arrived not in a flash or explosion, but like thoughts becoming real. They were few. Less than 100 ships. Against thousands. The watching galaxy held its breath. Alien commanders felt a surge of confidence. Numbers mattered again. Rules mattered again. Human ships took formation. They did not advance. They did not threaten. They waited. Dominion weapons locked on. Targeting systems confirmed something unsettling. Human ships still carried no visible weapons. No energy signatures. No missile bays. Nothing. Laughter echoed across Dominion command channels. This was it. The illusion was broken. The myth exposed. The order to fire was seconds away. Then something changed. The ancient station reacted. Not to the Dominion. To the humans. Lights awakened across its surface. Patterns no one had seen before. Systems ignored Dominion commands and aligned toward the human fleet. The precursor station recognized them. Not as enemies. As authorized. Panic rippled through Dominion ranks. Engineers screamed reports. Control was lost. The station was no longer responding. Then the human fleet transmitted. One message. Broadcast openly. Simple. Clear. We never left. The statement confused the galaxy. The human fleet began to move. Not forward, but outward. Ships spread into a wide arc around the station. As they did, something impossible became visible. Space around each human vessel shimmered, revealing massive structures hidden within folded dimensions. Shipyards, cities, entire fleets. Humanity's true presence unfolded like a curtain being pulled back. They had not been absent. They had been compressed. The small fleet was not small at all. It was an interface. Dominion commanders realized the mistake too late. Human ships were not armed because they did not need to be. They were keys. The station activated fully. Not under Dominion control. Under human guidance. Space-time stabilized, yes. But only where humans allowed it. Across the battlefield, Dominion ships experienced something horrifying. Their advanced weapons, designed to bend reality, suddenly followed strict rules again. Human systems did not. The advantage flipped instantly. Dominion weapons misfired. Shields failed under unexpected constraints. Engines stalled when calculations no longer matched real space. Human ships moved freely through zones where Dominion vessels were trapped by their own technology. The first shots of the war were fired. Not by humans. Dominion ships collided with each other as formations collapsed. The humans advanced. Still no weapons fired. They didn't need to. Human vessels passed close to Dominion ships, and systems shut down. Power drained. Command links severed. Every disabled ship was gently pushed aside, preserved. The message was unmistakable. This was not a slaughter. This was disassembled. Across the galaxy, observers began to understand something terrifying. Human warfare was not about destruction. It was about removal of options. The Dominion attempted one last act of defiance. A commander authorized the release of a star killer, an ancient device meant to collapse a sun into a supernova. The weapon activated. The human response was immediate. One human ship broke formation. It moved alone toward the device. Observers expected a sacrifice. Instead, the human ship stopped the weapon by touching it. Not with force. With authority. The Starkiller shut down. Its core went inert. The human ship transmitted a single sentence. This technology was ours first. Silence consumed the battlefield. The Dominion fleets powered down. Some commanders out of fear. Others out of understanding. The war ended not with an explosion, but with obedience. The precursor station stabilized. Human fleets remained. They did not occupy. They did not conquer. They waited. A final transmission echoed across the galaxy, reaching every species, every world. "We are not your rulers," the humans said. "We are not your enemies." A pause. "We are the reason you survived yourselves." The Dominion officially surrendered minutes later. But the galaxy did not celebrate. Because something far more unsettling had become clear. Humans had always been present at every turning point in galactic history. Every collapse was avoided. Every war that ended early. Every empire that vanished quietly. This was not a coincidence. It was curated. And now, for the first time, the curators had stepped into the light. Not to rule, but because the galaxy had finally forced their hand. And everyone watching understood the same chilling truth. If humanity ever chose to stop caring, there would be no war. There would be no warning. There would be no galaxy left to remember fear. The war ended without cheers. There were no victory parades. No burning worlds. No conquered capitals. Across the galaxy, weapons powered down in silence, as if every species was afraid to breathe too loudly and break whatever fragile balance now existed. The Dominion of Stars was finished, but humanity did not replace it. That confused everyone. The surviving Dominion leaders expected imprisonment, execution, public humiliation. That was how galactic power worked. That was how it had always worked. Instead, they were escorted, calmly, respectfully, onto human vessels and taken somewhere no map had ever recorded. There were no chains, no guards with weapons raised, only quiet corridors and steady movement. The destination was not a prison. It was an archive, a structure so vast it bent perspective. From the outside, it appeared as a simple ring floating in deep space. From the inside, it felt endless. Walls of light stretched in all directions, layered with moving images, data streams, and memories pulled from every corner of the galaxy. Entire civilizations existed here as recorded truth. The Dominion leaders felt small. They were brought into a central chamber where a single human waited. Not a general, not a ruler, just an archivist. Before anything else, the human said calmly, "You deserve to know why this happened." The Dominion demanded answers. Why humans hid? Why did they interfere? Why did they have the power to destroy everything but chose not to? The archivist did not argue. Instead, the walls came alive. The first image showed early humanity, divided, violent, chaotic. Wars burned across a single planet. Cities fell. Entire populations vanished. "This was us," the humans said. At our worst. The scene shifted. Humanity reached space. Colonies spread. Resources multiplied. Power grew. Then came the turning point. A war. Not with aliens. With themselves. A conflict so vast it nearly erased humanity entirely. Worlds burned. Stars were scarred. Technology outpaced wisdom. The Dominion leaders watched in silence as human history reached its breaking point. At our peak, the archivist said, "We became what you became." The display froze on an image of human fleets poised to annihilate each other. And we understood something too late. The human continued. Power does not make peace. Control does not bring stability. It only delays collapse. The scene changed again. Human leaders gathered, not to plan conquest, but to choose survival. They dismantled their greatest weapons, not because they could not use them, but because they knew they would. They turned their science inward, not to dominate space, but to understand it. Time, probability, causality. Humanity stopped expanding not out of fear, but out of responsibility. We realized, the archivist said quietly, that if we kept going, the galaxy would eventually become another battlefield we could not walk away from. The Dominion leaders tried to object. Power always invited challengers. Peace was temporary. The archivist nodded. That is why we stayed. The walls shifted again. Images appeared, alien civilizations across time. Some are familiar, some long erased. Rising empires, expanding fleets, wars on the horizon, and then subtle changes. A hyperspace lane failed at the wrong moment. A key leader survived an assassination attempt. A fleet turned back for reasons no one could explain. Wars that should have consumed sectors didn't. Species that should have gone extinct survived. The Dominion leaders began to recognize moments from their own history. Moments they had never questioned. Moments that felt guided. "You didn't notice us," the archivist said, "because we never stood in front of you." Human intervention was never obvious. Never dramatic. It was quiet. surgical, invisible. Empires were not destroyed. They were redirected. Technologies that would have ended civilizations were quietly neutralized. Expansion paths were nudged away from catastrophe. Time itself was adjusted, by seconds, by probabilities so small no one thought to measure them. We did not rule, the humans said, because ruling creates resistance. The Dominion leaders understood then. Humans were not passive. They were patient. And when patience was not enough, one Dominion leader asked. The archivist gestured. The image shifted to civilizations that vanished, not destroyed by humans, but allowed to destroy themselves. Some chose domination over survival, the humans said. We tried to stop them. When they refused, we let history take its course. The implication was chilling. Humanity decided who received second chances, and who did not. Silence filled the chamber. The Dominion leaders finally asked the question that mattered. Why reveal yourselves now? The archivist's expression changed. Not anger, not pride. Regret. Because you forced us to, they said. You crossed a boundary we have protected for longer than your civilization has existed. You did not seek balance. You sought certainty. The archivist looked directly at them. And certainty is the most dangerous weapon of all. The Dominion had believed fear was weakness. Humans understood it differently. Fear was information. Fear kept power restrained. The archivist deactivated the displays. The chamber felt smaller now. We never wanted to be seen, the humans said. Because once you see us, you stop looking at yourselves. The Dominion leaders realized the truth. Humanity did not want worship, did not want obedience, did not want an empire. They wanted a galaxy capable of surviving itself. And that meant staying in the shadows. Until now. What happens next? One leader asked. The archivist did not answer immediately. Instead, a final image appeared. Human fleets moving, not toward conquest, but toward positions across the galaxy. Strategic points, ancient threats, unstable regions. Preparation. We will not rule, the archivist finally said. But we will no longer pretend. The Dominion leaders were returned, not to prisons, but to their worlds. Alive, disgraced, watched. Across the galaxy, new treaties formed. Old hatreds paused. Civilizations reconsidered their ambitions, not because humans ordered them to, but because everyone now understood the same truth. Humanity had the power to end everything, and chose not to. That choice was more terrifying than any weapon, because restraint required strength beyond imagination. And because if humanity ever decided the galaxy had failed its test, there would be no war, there would be no resistance. There would only be an ending, carefully recorded in an archive that never forgot. Peace did not arrive quietly. It fractured. Across the galaxy, the fall of the Dominion of Stars created a vacuum no one knew how to fill. Borders dissolved. Old enemies faced each other without a higher power watching. Long-silenced grudges resurfaced, sharp and hungry. Humanity had removed the hand from the scale. The galaxy tilted. At first, humans did nothing. They watched as trade lanes collapsed, as former client states turned on each other, as warlords rose, claiming freedom while rebuilding the same empires under new names. Observers waited for human fleets to intervene. They didn't. That silence was intentional, because humanity had learned something long ago. Peace force is not peace at all. Then came the first scream. A star system on the edge of former Dominion space erupted into chaos. Three rival species, once held together by fear of Dominion retaliation, launched a total war. Planetary defenses activated. Civilian evacuation failed. The conflict escalated faster than any projection predicted. A star killer was detected, not Dominion-made, reverse-engineered from stolen designs. The galaxy froze. The weapon's activation would wipe out not just enemy worlds, but the entire system. Billions would die, not soldiers, civilians. Human observers flagged the event instantly. This was the line. Human fleets moved. They did not arrive with thunder or spectacle. No galaxy-wide broadcast announced their presence. They appeared silently at the edge of the system, sensors dark, weapons still unseen. The warring factions never saw them. The Star Killer fired. A wave of annihilation rushed outward, aimed at the system's star. And then it stopped. The energy wave collapsed in on itself, folded into nothing by forces no one else could touch. Humanity had intervened, but not to choose a side. Human ships descended toward the combat zones. Every weapon system across all factions shut down simultaneously. Power grids failed. Shields vanished. Command networks went dark. The war ended in a single moment. Not because one side won, but because fighting became impossible. Human transmissions followed, calm and unyielding. This conflict ends now. You will disarm. You will talk. The factions demanded answers, threatened resistance, claimed sovereignty. Humanity did not argue. They simply waited. And the galaxy noticed something new. Human ships did not remain. They left. Once the crisis passed, once the star system stabilized, the human fleet withdrew without occupying a single world. The message was unmistakable. Humans would stop extinction. They would not manage politics. At first, the galaxy welcomed this balance. Then resentment grew. Some civilizations whispered that humanity was playing God. Others argued humans had replaced the Dominion in everything but name. And then came the pushback. A coalition formed in secret, species that believed humanity's restraint was weakness, that the humans would never strike first, never conquer, never truly retaliate. They called themselves the Free Alliance. Their goal was simple: force humanity to choose. They launched coordinated attacks across multiple systems at once, conflicts engineered to overwhelm human response capacity. Civilian populations were used as shields. Refugee crises exploded overnight. Human fleets responded. Again and again. Each time, they saved lives. Each time, they refused to punish beyond necessity. The Free Alliance learned quickly. Human mercy could be exploited. So they escalated. Their final plan was brutal. A refugee convoy, millions of displaced civilians, was rerouted through unstable space. The Free Alliance seeded the route with mines tuned to detonate only in the presence of human technology. A trap. If humans intervened, the convoy would be destroyed. If they didn't, the refugees would die anyway. The galaxy watched in horror. Human command analyzed the scenario. There was no solution without loss. Except one. A human fleet moved to intercept the convoy. They did not disarm the mines. They did not alter space-time. They did something unprecedented. They interposed themselves. Human ships formed a living barrier around the convoy, absorbing the detonations one by one. Mines triggered. Explosions ripped through the formation. Human vessels vanished. Not disabled. Destroyed. One after another, ships sacrificed themselves to shield civilians who would never know their names. The convoy passed safely through. The human fleet did not reform. There were no replacements. The Free Alliance broadcast their victory, claiming they had finally forced humanity to bleed. They expected retaliation. They expected annihilation. What they received was worse. Humanity withdrew. Completely. No more interventions. No more quiet corrections. No more unseen hands adjusting fate. For the first time since the Dominion fell, the galaxy was truly alone. And it panicked. Without human interference, conflicts spiraled out of control. Old rivalries reignited without restraint. Weapons humanity had quietly neutralized for centuries resurfaced. Worlds burned. Entire species vanished in months. The Free Alliance begged for help. Humanity did not answer. The message they eventually received was short. We warned you. Fear returned, not of humans, of consequences. Civilizations realized the truth too late. Human intervention had never been about control. It was about survival. As the galaxy tore itself apart, one final human fleet emerged, not to fight, but to observe. Records were taken. Outcomes measured. Humanity was learning again. Not how to save everyone, but who could be saved. At the edge of known space, human shipyards activated slowly. New vessels were built, not for guardianship, but for something heavier. Because restraint had been tested and abused, and the lesson was clear. If the galaxy demanded proof of human resolve, then the next intervention would not be gentle. It would be final. The galaxy was burning. Humanity watched it happen. Not from indifference, not from cruelty, but from necessity. After the withdrawal, wars spread like wildfire. Systems that had relied on quiet human intervention collapsed under their own hatred. Species that had survived for millions of years vanished in weeks. Stars went dark, not from weapons alone, but from desperation. Human analysts tracked everything. Every battle, every extinction, every choice made without restraint. And one pattern became impossible to ignore. The galaxy did not collapse because humans left. It collapsed because too many civilizations had learned to rely on mercy without understanding responsibility. Then came the signal. Deep space sensors detected a massive energy buildup far beyond any known weapon. A coalition remnant, what remained of the Free Alliance, had unified around one final act. They had built something new, not a starkiller, something worse, a causality weapon, a device designed not to destroy planets, but to erase outcomes. Its target was clear, Earth, not because Earth was the most powerful world, but because it was symbolic. If humanity could be made to bleed at home, if their cradle could be threatened, then the myth would shatter. The galaxy would learn humans were not gods, just another species. Human command received the projections in silence. The weapon could not be stopped remotely, could not be disabled through space-time manipulation, could not be redirected. It had been designed specifically using lessons stolen from human interventions. There was only one option: interception, far from Earth. In deep, empty space, humanity assembled a fleet. Not the largest fleet they could muster. Not even close. Because calculations were brutal and honest. No ship sent would return. The fleet commanders knew this before they volunteered. So did the crews. There were no speeches broadcast. No dramatic farewells. Families were not contacted. Humanity had learned long ago that some choices did not need witnesses. The fleet departed quietly. As it moved to intercept, alien observers realized what was happening, and panic swept the galaxy. This was not intervention. This was a sacrifice. The causality weapon activated ahead of schedule, sensing human presence. Space around it distorted violently. Futures collapsed into singular paths. The human fleet accelerated. There was no battle formation, no defensive lines. They flew straight toward the weapon. Alien escorts opened fire. Reality twisted. Human ships were torn apart before weapons could even lock. They did not slow. Each destroyed vessel altered the probability field slightly, just enough. Human ships were not fighting the enemy. They were fighting inevitability. One by one, human vessels vanished. Each loss bought seconds. Each second mattered. Earth detected the unfolding event too late to respond. Civilian populations looked to the sky, unaware how close extinction had come. The final human ship reached the weapon. It was already breaking apart. Its hull fractured. Systems failed. Crew casualties were total. But the ship remained on course. It did not ram the weapon. It entered it. The causality device collapsed inward as human technology interfaced with it, not to destroy it, but to absorb it. The explosion never came. Instead, the region of space went silent. No light, no radiation, no future projections, just absence. The galaxy waited. Then space stabilized. The weapon was gone. The human fleet was gone. Earth was untouched. No victory announcement followed. No retaliation. No declaration of war. Humanity said nothing. Across the galaxy, something changed permanently. The Free Alliance dissolved overnight, not from attack, but from shame. Their leaders disappeared. Some fled. Some surrendered to their own people. Other civilizations did something unprecedented. They disarmed themselves. Not because humans demanded it, because they finally understood the cost of forcing guardians to become martyrs. Monuments appeared across alien worlds, not to heroes of war, but to unknown human ships whose names were never recorded. Children were taught a new lesson. Power is not proven by what you can destroy. It is proven by what you are willing to lose. Humanity mourned privately. Archives recorded the names. Families were informed. History was updated. But Earth never knew how close it came to ending. That ignorance was intentional. Because humanity did not fight to be worshipped. They fought so others could keep choosing. As the galaxy slowly stabilized, human fleets began moving again, not in secrecy this time, but not in dominance either. They positioned themselves at the edges of known space. Watching. Waiting. The final human directive was shared internally, never broadcast. Intervention remains conditional. Extinction will be prevented. But mercy will no longer be infinite. The galaxy had tested humanity's restraint. Humanity had answered, not with conquest, but with sacrifice. And every species understood the final truth. If humans ever chose war, it would not be loud. It would not be cruel. It would be swift, absolute, and justified. Because the species is willing to die for strangers. Would never hesitate to end those who threatened everyone. Centuries passed. The galaxy did not return to what it was. It became something else. Borders still existed, but they were thinner now. Empires rose more slowly, carefully, as if the universe itself were watching. Wars still happened, but they were smaller, shorter, measured. Extinction-level conflicts became stories from the past, not because humanity ruled, but because everyone remembered what happened when they were forced to act. Human ships remained at the edges of known space, never at the center. They did not patrol trade lanes. They did not demand tribute. They did not interfere unless a line was about to be crossed. Most of the time, they did nothing. And that was enough. New civilizations entering the galactic stage were taught history early. Not the glorified version. Not the heroic lies. They were taught the quiet parts. They learned about the dominion of stars and how certainty killed wisdom. They learned about the Free Alliance and how exploiting mercy led to collapse. They learned about the fleet that vanished so Earth would never know fear. And they learned one rule that mattered more than all others. If humans speak, listen. If humans warn, stop. If humans go silent, hope you have not gone too far. Fear returned to the universe, but not the old kind. Don't panic. Not terror. It was the fear of consequences. That fear made civilizations wiser. On a small, distant world, an alien child asked their teacher a question that echoed across generations. Why don't humans rule us? The teacher paused, as all teachers did when that question came. Because they could, they answered. The child did not understand. So the teacher showed them the archive. Not the battles. Not the power. The sacrifice. They showed the empty names where ships once existed. They showed probability maps where billions of lives balanced on the choice of a few thousand humans who would never be remembered. They learned something before anyone else, the teacher said. That power is not about control. The child asked the next question, the one that mattered. Are humans afraid? The teacher smiled sadly. Yes, they said. That is why we are still here. Far from classrooms and councils, a single human observer ship drifted beyond the galactic rim. It was old, scarred, silent. Inside, one human watched the stars. They reviewed reports. Conflicts resolved without intervention. Treaties formed without pressure. Species choosing restraint, not because they were forced to, but because they remembered. The observer marked it down as progress. Then another report arrived. A civilization beyond mapped space had begun expanding aggressively, consuming neighbors, ignoring warnings. The observer did not react immediately. They watched, because that, too, was part of the lesson. Humanity no longer rushed to save everyone. They waited to see who could learn. Elsewhere, in human space, Earth continued as it always had. People argued, laughed, built, dreamed. They did not live under the shadow of being gods. They lived as humans. Most never knew how close extinction had come, never knew how many had died, so they could remain unaware. That ignorance was protected more fiercely than any border, because fear was not meant for them. It was meant for those who believed power had no cost. In time, myths formed among the stars. Some said humans were angels. Others called them devils. A few claimed humans were not real at all, just a story told to scare warmongers into obedience. Humans never corrected any of it. Truth did not need defense. The universe itself was proof. At the edge of time, in the deepest archive, one final record was updated. It did not list victories. It did not list enemies. It listed choices. Moments where humanity could have ruled and did not. Moments where humanity could have destroyed and chose restraint. Moments where humanity sacrificed itself for species that would never say thank you. The final entry was simple. Status, galaxy stable. Threat level, managed. Humanity, still watching. And beneath it, a note added long after the wars ended. Nothing in the universe made them afraid. Until they met humans. Not because humans were cruel, but because they proved something far worse. That unlimited power could exist and still choose restraint. That the most terrifying force in existence was not rage or conquest or destruction. It was a species that knew exactly how to end everything and decided every single day not to.